Welcome back, everyone. Today, we continue our journey through Annu Pandey's powerful second book, Keeping Faith Alive, as we dive into Chapter 8, Mental Control and Thought Suppression. In this episode, we're exploring how control can go beyond actions and begin to shape the way people think, question, and perceive reality. We'll be unpacking how information can be filtered or manipulated, how critical thinking can be gradually suppressed, and how individuals can be influenced in ways that are not always obvious. We'll also look at the emotional impact of these experiences, how manipulation and betrayal affects a person internally, and how someone can begin to recognize these patterns in their own story. This is a deep and important conversation about awareness, psychology, and reclaiming your ability to think freely. Let's begin. How are you, Anu?
I'm great, Siddharth. How are you?
I'm awesome, and I'm happy to have you on as usual. So, Anu, how does thought control actually work in spiritual or high control environments? And why is it often so difficult for individuals to recognize while they're in it?
Um, so, thought control actually works by reshaping your mental habits, how you see information, how you perceive it, how you analyze it, how you make sense of it, how you relate yourself with it, how you see the world around you, how you see people around you, how you understand events, everything like that. And leaders who intend to create that kind of control in such high control environments, they strategically influence three things about you to achieve that. First one is they influence how you interpret your inner world, which means like your emotions become sins, your doubts become tests of your faith, and your intuition or any gut feelings, it becomes your ego. So this is how they manipulate your internal world, how you interpret what's going inside you, your emotions, your doubts, your intuitions, your gut feelings. And the second thing that they do is they influence how you label your experiences, the day to day experiences. For example, if you're going through abuse, you will start to see it as discipline. You won't see it as, you won't label the abuse as abuse, you will label it as, oh, I'm being disciplined, this is just discipline and this is for my own good. If you are if you experience that I am too exhausted these days, instead of understanding the situation as it is, you could label your exhaustion as your dedication to services. So exhaustion becomes services, and you might interpret it as, you might label your exhaustion and say, oh, it's because I am very dedicated to services. You don't see that, you don't see what's actually happening, that you're exhausted, but you will see, oh, it's my spiritual dedication. And the third thing that these leaders strategically influence is how you explain your life events. For example, if you receive success in something, it's grace, it's mercy. If you fail at something, it's seen as offense or your lack in faith. So, this is how your interpretation of your inner world, your uh, behavior, how you label your experiences, and how you explain your life events, it's all invisible inside the system because the change feels internal. Followers think that it's something that is happening inside me, it doesn't feel imposed. Followers think that, oh, I am thinking like this because I am growing spiritually now, it's my own spiritual evolution. They don't understand that their thoughts are being influenced, their mental habits are being reshaped by strategical influence. So it doesn't feel imposed, it feels like your own spiritual evolution, your own spiritual growth. Like people might think that, oh, I'm becoming more spiritually evolved, that's why I am seeing my doubts as my test of faith. They will not say that I am having doubts, I have this doubt and I want to get it clarified. Oh, I am having doubts, oh, because maybe I lack faith, maybe God is testing me. And this gut feelings that I have right now, oh, it's because I have ego. So that's how they start to make sense of these things. And Followers don't realize that it's being done on the outside of them. It feels imposed. So the control becomes your self-talk. And that's why victims don't realize what is happening. They think it's all my spiritual evolution and my spiritual growth. So the the leaders or the system, I'm not saying that leaders always do this consciously. They might be doing it unconsciously or out of fear or out of just habit because they are part of it. They do this purposely, and the actually the cage is forged inside your mind. When the cage is inside your mind, where would you escape? If the cage is external to me, I can break it and I can see that I'm inside the cage, and I can see and I can make an efforts to get out of it, and I can at least have idea or plans to get out of it. But if the cage is inside my mind, and it's very common thing that happens with people who are going through psychological and emotional abuse, in other contexts also, domestic abuse, child abuse, children also have children who have toxic abusive parents. Their cage is inside their mind, and that's why they can never escape that. So this is how the thought control actually works. And this is why it is difficult to recognize in your own self, because it does not feel like something external or something that is being imposed on you. It feels like it, you don't even know that it exists because the cage is inside your mind.
Awesome. All right, I've got a comment question here for you from Jitin Rishika. Hi, Anu. How does one separate emotions from spiritual control and abuse?
So there are various things that we can do to achieve that. The best thing would be to journal. Whenever you are having an emotion and you want to know any emotion or thought if you're having, and you want to know if it's actually a spiritual thing or abuse and control. So first of all, you see how it makes you feel.
Mm,
Spirituality is meant to empower you. It's meant to make you feel that you are growing, you are becoming powerful, and it's supposed to make you blissful. When I say it's supposed to make you blissful, I don't mean to say that you are going to be always happy. But when you
mm,
are growing spiritually, you know, on the inside that things are getting better. I am getting
yeah.
better, and whatever comes on my way, I can handle it. So if this is the scene, it means that you are growing spiritually and these emotions or thoughts are in your favor. But if the emotions and thoughts are distressing you, you should challenge them. You should try to find evidences that support them or are against them. If you are having a thought and you don't understand if it's good for me or bad for me, try to challenge your thought. And the emotion, try to analyze the emotion if it's distressing you or if it's making your life better. The urge to serve, the urge to do a ritual, or the emotion then comes after doing a ritual. If it's making you happier, more powerful, more liberated, it means it's good for you. Otherwise, it's abuse, and it could be abuse or control.
In what ways is information manipulated or restricted to maintain control over followers' beliefs and perceptions?
So, in high control environments, so basically, we are mostly talking about cultic environments here in these sessions. So, in cultic environments, in high control, spiritual, religious, and even non spiritual or non religious cult like environments, information is not completely blocked. Information is given to you, but it's highly engineered. And I will
Okay.
explain to you how it is done. It's done in 5 ways. First of all, the truth is tiered. The same type of truth is not available to to all the followers. In every community, there are new followers, beginners join who have new joinees, and then there are people who are committed since a very long time, the senior people in the community. So there are different type of truths provided to them. The newcomers, they know the truth that makes them feel proud of being the part of the community. It's good, it's right decision, I am safe, this is good right path for me. All the nice things that ever happened here, all the positive things that happen, things that will help you, things that will make you feel that it was a good decision to come here and to stay here. On the other hand, There is esoteric knowledge which is available only to loyal followers, people who have been followers for very long. They have all kind of knowledge, they know everything, but that same knowledge is not given to the beginners. And so this also creates perpetuated inadequacy in the newcomers. They know that I am a newcomer, that's why I have this bit of information. And there are people, seniors, who have more information. And when they talk secretly, and we are not allowed because they know some more, higher teachings, higher truths they have got. And in order to reach to that level, so that I can also exchange information of that level, I need to become a senior, or as loyal and uh, as loyal and as committed that as they are, and as experienced also in the terms of time, so when I reach that age, maybe then I will also become eligible for getting that higher teaching that they are getting. So the truth is tiered, there is tiered truth for different level of followers in the community. So this is how information, you can see in this first way. I'm going to tell you about 5 ways, and in this first way you can see how information is controlled and filtered. The second thing that happens in high control environment is there is leader filtered reality. Anything that's going around inside your community or outside the community, in the society, in the world, on global level, national level, state level, community level, any news, conflict, scandals, or mistakes. So you can see what is happening around you. You have TV and you have people telling you stories, and you have all the information, but you are not supposed to perceive it as it is, analyze it using your own mind, do any critical thinking and all that. You are supposed to discuss it first with um, the leaders or the authority figures, and then they will give explanation of their perception. So there are context filters. So leader would first perceive it, interpret it, and then they will decide how much information they want to reach to you, and how much they have to withhold. And they decide, that they create the filter, and they decide how much they are going to withhold, how much they are going to release, so that it reaches you. So you see, the reality is there, but reality is not reality for you. You don't just absorb information as it is, you wait for the leader's approval. Also, you are expected to go with the whatever filtered information reaches to you. Are supposed to trust it, blindly trust it. And people mostly do that because that's a norm. When something happens, let's say a scandal happens inside the community, and you can clearly see the so and so things happen in front of my eyes, but no, you cannot see it directly because they are all, you know seniors and spiritually elevated people, and you are not that spiritually evolved, so you cannot understand something that's going on with someone who is more spiritually evolved than you are. And you are supposed to wait for interpretation of someone who is equally spiritually involved as the person who was involved in the scandal. So now that person will give you their perception of the reality, and you're supposed to believe to that perception of reality. If you don't do so, something is wrong with you. You're not loyal enough, you lack faith in your community, in your authority figures, and in your god, and all that things. And it's not said to you, as I said in the previous response, it's all automatic. It's like a norm. It becomes your mental habit over the time. So you wait for leaders explanation of their perception about anything, news, conflict, scandal, anything. And then that approved explanation that comes from the leader, that you accept as your reality. So you see how there was a raw reality, but what reached you. So the interpretation is there. Then the third thing that happens, it's the sanitized histories. Leaders and authority figures in high control environments, they act as like there are uh, PR, public relation officers are there. So the past abuse, any scandal that happened in the past, any power struggle that happened in the past or is happening right now, any failures, any problems with law, anything, they are either erased or reframed. There have been cases where authority figure, a leader or preacher in different communities, Hindu communities, Christian communities, Muslim communities, their leaders, everyone knows, according to the history, they did something that was wrong. But if you try to talk to them, their followers, you can go to any faith system. And inside the faith systems, any community, you try to talk about that particular scandal or that particular whatever happened, that event, you will see how ferociously, how arrogantly, and how energetically, and I don't know which word to use, and how they would defend that thing. And they're not defending it because they're afraid or something. They are highly convinced because their own authority figures have curated that reality for them. They were giving a curated version of reality, and their own mental habit made them believe that if they don't accept the curated version of reality given to them by authority figures, their leaders, and the loyal old uh, senior followers and members of the community, then something is wrong with them, and nobody wants to be labeled as someone who lacks faith, who lacks loyalty to their community. So if you want to look like loyal and obedient and committed member, you have to act according to what is the norm in your community. And high control communities always have this norm that you have to wait for the realities that comes from the upper level, upper higher level of the strata. So if you want to talk about any failure that happened, any struggle, even at present, if you can see, you can clearly see a power struggle happening between two leaders or two followers or two members, you have to see it in a way that comes from, you have to see it in a form that is approved by the higher authority figures. And especially the history we are talking about here, history is always sanitized. Nothing wrong ever happened in our community. Our community has always been the best, and everyone is pious, and everyone is pure, and everyone is morally and spiritually very high. Everyone is um, already very evolved, so everyone had always been like this, especially the leaders and the preachers and authority figures, and even the members who join, they are all right. Everybody is right and nobody can be wrong. And especially the history, nothing is wrong, nothing wrong ever happened, even in the books that are there, even in the websites that are there. Sometimes uh, people literally pay to get those articles or videos or the contents to be deleted, where something happened to someone and they went out and wrote about it or talked about it, and then later on, high control in the authority figures from high control environments, high control communities, they literally pay to get that removed. We all know about people like that from all faith systems, from all communities. You will always find someone. The dysfunctional system always have these kind of people. So the curated version of reality is presented and histories are sanitized. Fourth thing that happens is communication is lost. No outsider's perspective, no reality check is there. So it is reduced, external fact checking, it reduces the external fact checking, and it creates whatever information comes from the higher level, and then it is blindly accepted by the lower level, and the information that comes from the higher level, it is always filtered and curated. And now that's that the information that is received from the top, now it keeps getting echoed in the lower system. So it it makes the community like a self-contained information ecosystem. You are not allowed to take any outsider's perspective. You're not allowed to read outsiders' book. Do not watch outsiders' content because they are all impure. They are all wrong, and they will contaminate your mind. So believe only what is inside, and so inside information gets keeps on getting echoed, and it creates a self-contained information ecosystem. And also, there is contradiction absorption. Inconsistencies, even if someone notices any inconsistencies, they are explained as paradox or pastimes of the leaders or the saints or the monks or the even the members. So in no way members can see the reality as it is. You have to always see the version of reality curated to keep you compliant. Compliance is what is needed, and so the reality that reaches to the members, it has to be engineered, curated in a way that they always think that they are fortunate to be a part of it and they stay committed and compliant.
Interesting. How does the suppression of critical thinking develop over time, and what psychological impact does it have on decision making and independence?
So, critical thinking gets eroded by slow conditioning loop. It's happened very slowly, so slow that members are not even able to recognize that it's happening. So, few things happen like repetition of doctrine. So, it creates automatic thinking. For example, if it's a very common NLP thing. Whenever we want to change a habit, I use it a lot. Whenever I want to change a mental habit or automatic thought I want to stop or replace with a positive one, I always create affirmation. I write it on a piece of paper and put it somewhere I can see every day, like in my bathroom wall or on my cupboard. I have a lot of affirmations in my bedroom because when you see, hear, or read or speak something every day, repeatedly, when you say something or hear or watch something, it that message usually gradually gets imprinted in your mind and it becomes your thought. For example, if someone thinks that they are worthless and they write on a piece of paper that I'm worthy of love and respect and good relationships, something like that, and put it on your wall there, you can see it every day. It gradually actually changes your view of yourself or any thought that you want to replace with a positive one. Now the same technology it's used. Now if a harmful doctrine is repeated over and over and over and over, a person who is hearing or uh, witnessing someone else hear it or witnessing someone else saying it to someone, it creates automatic thinking. For example, um, if you're not happy, it means you're not practicing your spirituality nicely. If you constantly hear this word, or if you are having questions, it means you lack faith. This is a very common doctrine. If you
Mm.
hear this doctrine over and over and over, now you don't need a second person to gaslight you into thinking that if you're having questions, it means you lack faith. You don't need a second person. Now you become capable of gaslighting yourself. Now it will become your critical thought. So it will become an automatic thought. So any normal person in a normal scenario, if something happens, if an event happens, whether it event is an external or it's just a thought or an emotion, they are going to take the information, analyze it, use their critical thinking, interpret it, and come to a decision. But when you are repeatedly hearing or reading a doctrine, then you develop automatic thinking, automatic toxic thinking in response to that doctrine. So the normal automatic thinking that is supposed to happen, it gets replaced by the automatic thinking that comes from that indoctrination. Second, second thing is emotional rewards. Emotional rewards are given in response to obedience. And emotional rewards means uh, praising a person, including them, showing them mercy. See, anyone who joins a spiritual community, they obviously do it because they want to feel good on the inside. Everyone is distressed. There are so many anxieties in this world and pressure of daily life and so many things. So people turn towards spirituality so that they can feel good for some time. And when you are in an environment and it's a spiritual environment, even if you are not growing spiritually, but there are some material things that are giving you happiness and you are going to a place to feel good, and they make you feel good. You don't really analyze that much where this happiness or good positive feelings are coming from. If I want water and I get water, I'll be happy and satisfied. I don't really need to know where it's coming from. Similarly, when someone goes to a church or a temple or a mosque and they are feeling good there, they will be satisfied. Now, this need is sometimes used. I'm coming to church. Let's say I'm going to church and I want to feel happy. And the leaders, they praise me, they include me, they show their mercy, they make me feel special, they give me attention, they also support me financially or in any ways. I'm going to feel happy. But in high control environments, these emotional rewards are directly proportional to your obedience. When you show obedience, you are given these rewards. So you don't always subconsciously try to understand what's happening, but it reinforces obedience in you. Your body remembers last time when I was obedient, I was made to feel good. And I want to feel good because everyone wants to feel good. So unconsciously, your brain learns that staying obedient is going to bring good feelings. So this is how obedience is reinforced by using emotional rewards. Now, opposite of this, the third thing is emotional penalties. If someone questions, doubts, dissents, they are made to feel negative emotions of shame, withdrawal, emotional withdrawal, whatever emotional support or connection is there, if it's withdrawn when you are questioning, and if you are given direct or subtle spiritual threats. So these are the emotional penalties the person has to endure when they are walking out of the line, they're questioning, dissenting, having doubts. So this reinforces again obedience. You know that obedience will bring positive emotions, and questioning or anything apart from obedience will bring negative emotions. So nobody wants to experience these things. Nobody wants emotional pain, emotional penalties. Everybody wants rewards. So this behavior reinforces obedience. And then cognitive shortcuts take over. So members rely on doctrine instead of reasoning, as I said. You have listened to a doctrine over and over, like thousands and millions of times. So now, next time when a situation happens relevant to that particular doctrine, a message from that doctrine, and you don't use your critical thinking, you just take a mental shortcut and you rely on the doctrine instead of reasoning. So this is how critical thinking gets eroded slowly by conditioning loop, and over the time brain shifts from evaluating to obeying, processing to accepting, deciding to seeking permission. And psychologically, this results in five things: decision paralysis, you're not able to make your own decisions, you become dependent on authority figures for that, dependency on authority figures, chronic fear of making wrong choices or committing sins, long term difficulty trusting one's own judgment, and loss of intellectual curiosity. Because you know it's of no use, then why to use your curiosity? Just go with the indoctrination. So the person becomes high functioning on the outside but mentally dependent on the group.
All right. What are some of the most common manipulation tactics used by leaders, and how do they create a sense of loyalty or submission among followers?
So leaders in high control environments, they rely on not just emotional manipulation but also on identity based influence, something that has to do with your identity. And there are five techniques that they use. Five tactics are used. First one is identity merger, which means your destiny is tied to me. There is a subtle message is
Mm.
given to the followers that your destiny is tied to me. So followers think that their life's purpose is to depend on the leader for everything, for making decisions for their spiritual life. Although in reality, nobody has got the copyright over the God. You can have an
Mm.
independent relationship with God, but leaders who do not follow very healthy ways of ethical ways of preaching, they would want their followers to think that way, that if you do not obey me completely, if you try to leave me, even inside the community, sometimes I see that inside the same community, if a follower wants to leave one leader and wants to go to another leader for guidance, this leader might become insecure. And because of their insecurity, they might create a fear in the follower that your spiritual life, your spiritual destiny depends upon my guidance. I am the only one who can guide you in the best way, and if you leave me, your spiritual life will be in danger. And believe me, sometimes followers actually believe in this for years. Second thing is sacred hierarchy. Questioning leaders is equal to questioning God. Once someone becomes a leader, authority figure, or even senior, all only on the basis of their date of joining, like in organizations, in office environment, someone who joins earlier becomes seniors automatically. In spiritual communities also, I see this material basis is sometimes used to make a person feel like they are senior or someone is junior. So now just because someone has become senior on the basis of their date of joining, so they are become and they are also become easily become leaders because they joined earlier, so somehow they are automatically spiritually more elevated than people who joined later. This is very simple math that is used in dysfunctional spiritual environments. And now, when someone reaches that position of a leader, questioning them is seen as questioning God. So, if you question the leader, it means you are questioning God. So, don't. So, the hierarchy suddenly becomes sacred. They reach to a sacred place where they become untouchable. So, this is second tactics. Third tactics is ritualized obedience. Initially, small acts of compliances lead to conditioning towards bigger obediences. Initially, you are required to obey and give compliance towards small things, and gradually, ritually, it keeps on increasing, and you become conditioned toward bigger obedience. Once you become habitual, you cannot say no later on, it becomes difficult because you already allowed them to step over your boundaries several times. And then fourth one is moral asymmetry. This is also one of the most harmful thing that happens in such environments. Leaders are above rules. As I said, questioning leaders is questioning God, and they are also above rules, so you cannot question them. And followers are judged strictly. Anyone who is new in the community, they will be judged very strictly, not just by the leaders but also by the fellow followers. On the other hand, leaders are above rule. If they are some doing something, like I said, it will be somehow justified using a paradox or saying that it's just a pastime or something like that. And the fifth thing that happens is controlled vulnerability. Leaders sometimes do reveal selective weakness about themselves, but it is done to manipulate. It's done to appear relatable. Oh, I also feel like this thing. I have also been like that, only to appear relatable in the moment, creating emotional bonding, only to create emotional bonding, which is done in a manipulative way. So, loyalty is created because people don't just admire the leader, but because they fuse their self worth with the relationship, making disobedience feel like self betrayal. And it happens on the inside, becomes an inside habit. If I have any feelings of disobedience towards my leader, who's above the rules, who is equal to God, it means that I am betraying myself, because, of course, my destiny is tied to them. If I am disobeying them, if I'm not questioning them, having doubts about them, then I am harming myself, my spiritual journey. So it feels like self betrayal.
Lastly, for someone reflecting on their own experience, what are the key signs that they may have been subjected to mental control, and what coping strengths can help them recover?
So there are basically five key signs. First one is internalized surveillance. When someone has been subjected to mental control, Even when the person stops controlling them mentally, they internalize that habit into themselves. And it's like they are always monitoring their thoughts. They are so
Mm,
scared, and in fact, I would say they become so habitual
mm,
of being afraid of their own mental thoughts, of being confused and lacking confidence of their own thoughts, that they're always mentally surveying their own thoughts, monitoring their own thoughts. What if I am thinking something that is sinful? What if I am doing something that's harming my spiritual life? What if I am not faithful enough? Are always doubting yourself, questioning yourself, monitoring every thought that comes in your mind. So this is the first sign. Second is emotional reactions linked to doctrine. Having any intense emotions like panic, guilt, fear, shame, triggered by very harmless choices. Someone who has indoctrination, sometimes even when they are doing something that is very harmless, even that action might bring high intense emotions and highly intenseful emotions, negative emotions. For example, someone who is not well and they are totally in bed and they cannot get up, and let's say they took a sleeping pill or something and they got up late in the morning, but they were supposed to go to church or go to temple to attend morning program, and they could not go because they had an actual physical reason, health reason, and they took the medicine, and they will go into deep guilt. And in this case that I'm describing, it's physical health, which is very evident. In some cases, there are mental health issues. For example, someone is mentally very exhausted and they can't even think and plan properly, and because of which they miss a ritual. And then when they realize they have missed a ritual, they go into deep guilt and deep shame.
mm,
So, high emotional reactions linked to doctrine coming up even when you are doing harmless choices, not waking up one day in the entire month because you were sick. It was a harmless choice, and that too often happened by accident. There's no need to go into deep depression because of that, but people do go into deep depression. I have met people like that who go into deep depression. They are crying, they are feeling sad, feeling that they are unworthy of themselves, sometimes feeling suicidal because they were not able to carry on with their usual rituals because of their health issues. Third one is loss of personal taste. When your identity gets fused with the identity of the group, you gradually lose your individuality. And so gradually you become a person who does not knows without approval what they want. You, because also you're also monitoring your thought all the time. Even if you think what you like and what you not like, you are so afraid, what if I like something that's sinful? So it's better not to think about what I think. So you lose your personal taste, you don't even know. And phobic response to leaving, detachment. There is a belief that detachment from my community or my leader is equal to spiritual harm. So this is the phobic response to leaving. Even though you can see you're distressed, you are being harmed, but you don't want to leave. I know people who have left with a lot of courage and they are in deep shame for leaving. And then fifth one is fragmented identity. Not knowing outside the group, not knowing yourself outside the group, because when your identity get fused with the group and now you leave the group, you already left your individuality to become part of the group. So if you leave this group, you are left with nothing, you become shell of who you were. And if you talk about the recovery strategies, there are five things that people can do to recover from these things, this kind of mental control from any harmful environment. First is cognitive deprogramming. In the first response that I told you, that there is reprogramming, there's reshaping of mental habits. We need to deprogram that. Comparing doctrine with reality to reclaim independent thoughts. Whenever you are feeling distressed because of a thought that is coming automatically in response to a doctrine, challenge it. Try to find evidences that are supporting it or that are against it. When you analyze it in this way, you get to know, you will get to reclaim your independent thoughts, and you can uh, understand the validity of that particular thought. Second is somatic grounding. Whenever we are afraid, our body goes into fight or flight mode. Sometimes when we are too afraid and we cannot take an action, body goes into freeze mode. So understanding your nervous system's three types of responses: fight, flight, or freeze. You can get psychoeducation on these three types of nervous system response using a lot of free resources on internet, and understand how and why your body goes into fight mechanism, flight mechanism, and freeze. And when you react in a situation using any of these responses or combination of these responses, you will know which of the mechanism your nervous system is using to deal with these distresses. And then you can heal them. You can use grounding, mindfulness, and also you can use body based method like self soothing, mindful grounding, mindful walking, mindful eating. There are so many things that you can use to ground your body so that you do not react. You can also do journaling, and you can find plenty of resources available on internet that deal with somatic healing from fight, flight, or freeze nervous system trauma responses. Third thing you can do is identity reconstructions.
Oh,
Can you hear? Yeah, can you hear me,
sorry
Siddharth?
about that.
I can't.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't know what happened there with the net.
I can't see you.
Oh, can you
Yeah,
see me
okay.
now?
I can see you now. Yeah, so identity
Cool.
reconstruction is very important because in harmful environments, people lose their individuality because they have to live in a way that satisfies the needs of the other person, whoever is controlling them, whoever is trying to control, um, do the mental control on them, whether it's a partner, a parent, or a spiritual leader, or whoever. So it's very important to reconstruct your identity. Try to find who you are, who you were without before this relationship or before this community association, exploring your preferences, your values, your personal meanings, your identity, everything, trying to find yourself and try to reconnect with yourself. And then fourth one is boundary rehabilitation. In harmful environment, you're not allowed to have your boundaries. Not having boundaries allows the other person to control you. If you don't want further control, further harm from other people, you don't want to be exploited by other people, you need to have boundaries to protect yourself. Like a house has a boundary, every building has a boundary. Similarly, we also need emotional boundaries around ourselves to protect ourselves from the harm. It's not for keeping people out, it's only for keeping harm out. So respect other people's boundary and have your own boundary. And the last one is narrative therapy. It's a type of therapy that therapist can give you. It's a therapy that allows you to rewrite your story, to remove shame and regain agency. If someone abused you, if someone caused you harm, if someone manipulated you, exploited you, it was never your fault. It was never your fault. But I know that I'm saying this, but it's not easy to accept it as it is. But if you go through that kind of therapy, narrative therapy, it helps you rewrite your story and see your story from a new perspective, where you were harmed and you were not the sinner or something. So goal is not just leaving the group, but to reclaim the right to think, to feel, to choose and exist without anyone's permission, and to feel worthy of love.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Anu, and sorry for that slight disconnection. I think it's like, network issues from time to time.
No problem. Thank you so much for that.
See you then.